Hello everyone, welcome to Carnage Candy. I am Greyson, and these are my top 10 favorite horror movies. We're going to be starting with an all-time classic for me, and that is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This is one of the funniest movies I've ever watched, but it also dabbles a little bit with scariness as well, with the creature designs and everything else that they have in it. I love how wacky it can be, and I love how much fun they have with this movie. No matter how many times it comes on, I have to sit down and watch it. If it's halfway through the movie and they're already shooting the popcorn guns, I'm watching it no matter what. Overall, I just think that if you want to have a great time and it's getting towards the spooky season, you gotta have this film on. It's just a blast from start to finish. For my next one, I'm hitting a little bit deeper of a cut, and I'm going with Night of the Demons. It's got amazing creature design in it, and it has some pretty memorable scenes as well. Awesome opening, awesome middle part of the movie, and the ending of it slammed. I definitely recommend you checking this one out. Going on to my 8th favorite film here, we are at Friday the 13th Part 4. Now, I know it is Part 4 of the franchise, but to me, it doesn't get any better than this. You have Jason being the most ruthless form of himself. You have Corey Feldman showing up for the first time. We'll get an introduction to Tommy Jarvis. You have so many things that are going on, and this thing is like a roller coaster. Once it starts, it does not stop. You will see gore and even more gore by the end of this film. And by the time it's done, you'll see yourself wanting to watch it again and again and again. This was the first time I was ever afraid of Jason, and every time I go back and watch it, I now understand why I was, because the guy is just terrifying in this film. Moving on now to Dawn of the Dead. I'm talking about the George Romero original. This film really got me into the zombie genre of horror movies. It was one that no matter how many times I would watch it, I would always find something unique about it, whether it was the odd color of all the zombies, how different the blood looked in it, or just the random pie scene in the movie for no apparent reason. I really fell in love with the characters in this movie as well, and felt pretty bad for most of the things that ended up happening to them. I can't not go a year without watching this movie. Almost every single October, I have to sit down and put it on and just watch through the whole thing. Once again, this is the reason why I got into the zombie genre. It is an all-timer for me. This movie is awesome. Being able to put a mall with zombies filled in it was something that was completely original for the time. And, I mean, heck, if we wouldn't have had this, we probably would have never gotten Dead Rising. Moving on to our next one, we have another film that George Romero helped with. We have Creepshow. Creepshow is another one of those that Tom Savini helped with, and it shows. Starting off with the cake and having the awesome special effects that are done on the father. Seeing Fluffy in there is also amazing. I do believe it was the first time that Tom Savini had actually done any kind of special effects like that, and he really shows how quick he can pick up on it. The cockroach scene at the end of it is really rough as well. You've got Stephen King showing up in it and doing his best. It was the first anthology film that I ever got to see, and I saw it at a very young age, and it stuck with me, mainly just because of how unique it was to me at the time. I didn't know that you could fit so many small movies into one big feature, and finding out about this was really cool, because then I got shown, Tales from the Dark Side and Creepshow 2 and other anthology films like the Tales from the Crypt movie as well. So this movie really introduced me to the Anthology series, which is a very soft spot for me. Like, anytime an anthology series comes out, I watch it, and that's all thanks to Creepshow. I watch this as many possible times as I can a year as well, and it's something that no matter how many times I watch it, it just seems to get better and better every single year. Next up is Zombie. It is the Lucio Fulci version of Zombie, and this movie was the first truly gory film I saw. I had seen Friday the 13th Part 4 before this, but this was the one that really upped the ante. It really goes above and beyond to just show what special effects can do in horror films. The eye scene is very iconic. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You also have this amazing scene to where you have an actor who is fighting with a shark underwater. So you have a zombie versus shark scene in this. You have the cover zombie of the movie, which is one of the coolest looking zombies I've ever seen. And then there's an awesome shootout at one point in time in the movie. This movie really got me into a different side of Italian horror. You had Argento's side, was more of the, the giallo side, and then you have Fulci, which is just this almost nightmare fuel horror movie fest that you could get into, whether you're watching Zombie or you're watching The Beyond. There's just so many different ways you can go with Fulci, but to me, the ultimate Fulci film is Zombie, and it is one that it just blows you away the first time you watch it. If you haven't watched this movie, please put it on your list. It is a different type of horror movie, but I'm telling you, whenever you watch it and you see the special effects, you're gonna thank me. For our next film, we have the first Scream. What is there that you can't say about Scream 1? You have the opening that was one of the most shocking things you could see back then, having Drew Barrymore be in a film and then having that happen to her right at the beginning of the movie was jaw-dropping. A brand new horror icon showing up in Ghostface. You've got just an amazing lead in Sidney Prescott. And then you've got Dewey and you've got Randy and you've got all these really cool characters and all the sets are really cool and an amazing soundtrack. And then you've got a killer or two killers. And just realizing that happens in the film blows your mind. And whenever you finally get the reveal, you can't believe that it was right there in front of you the whole time. You get the rules to horror movies from it. Like, there's so many things you can thank Scream for, and every time you watch Scream, you just think to yourself, man, I cannot believe how ahead of the times this movie was. And just going back and watching this movie, it still is able to hold its own in this time and age. Getting into our top three now, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street. I know I went back-to-back Craven on this, but I can't have a list and not have A Nightmare on Elm Street on it. Freddy Krueger was one of the first horror icons that I ever saw as a kid growing up. I had a Freddy Krueger doll that I slept with and protected me, which was very odd if you really think about it. But A Nightmare on Elm Street never really got to me. I always thought that it was just super unique and interesting as a kid. I thought it was really interesting that something could hurt you in your dreams, but could also come out into the real world and hurt you as well. I thought that the special effects in this movie were awesome, and as a kid, seeing Johnny Depp get pulled into the bed and then all the blood just shoot out after that, man, it doesn't get more gnarly than that when you're growing up. The ending was awfully confusing to me, and even to this day, seeing it, I'm just like, oh yeah, I guess that kind of did happen. But even with that ending, I still think that A Nightmare on Elm Street deserves to be in most people's top three, if not their number one of all time. Number two, I have John Carpenter's Halloween, the original. I can't say enough about this film. You have Michael Myers, you have Laurie Strode, you have Loomis, you have Sheriff Brackett, you have all these characters that are all running around in Haddonfield. Seeing an opening where a child kills his sister and that big reveal whenever you got that was something that I had never really seen as a kid. I'm not used to a child doing something so evil. And then as it goes on, never really understanding why that ever happened was something that always stuck with me as a child. Not having an explanation just kind of always threw me for a loop, and as you see Michael get older and get out, you keep on expecting an explanation, but you never get it. You only get Loomis saying that he's just evil, and that always stuck with me. Also, being a kid, I was babysat a lot, so seeing a killer that just mainly went after babysitters stuck with me. And that theme song, when you hear it, no matter how old you are, there's just something that it does to you, You hear that theme go off and the hairs on the back of your neck starts to stand up, and you know that you're in for one heck of a ride. I watch this every year. Every Halloween, I'm sitting down, I'm putting this on, and I'm watching it. I've seen it well over 100 times at this point in time in my life. And you know what? I'll probably see it 100 more. For my favorite horror movie of all time, we have John Carpenter's The Thing. I have talked a lot about special effects throughout this whole list. As you can tell, I love whenever you have practical effects in movies, and this one has the best practical effects of the 80s, if not of all time. Whether you're going with the operation table scene, the spider scene, the blood test scene, any kind of transformation that you see in this movie, it is just incredible to sit back and watch it. You have got Kurt Russell as MacReady, and he just kills it the whole time. He is an amazing leading character in this movie. No matter what scene he's in, you can't do anything but just sit there and watch him and hope that you get more and more of him on the screen. It really goes to show how good this movie is, because even to this day, the ending is still debated. Nobody still knows what the actual ending is, and John Carpenter won't tell anybody. It is just so spectacular to be able to watch a film and still at the end of the movie not know who the thing is. It is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen this movie, for one, it blows me away in this day and age. And for two, do it. Like, turn this off right now, go watch The Thing, and then comment in the chat and let me know what you think. These were my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. I hope you enjoyed this list. I enjoyed putting it together. I hope there were some horror movies on this list that you haven't seen yet and you decide to check them out. If you do happen to watch one of the movies that was on my list, leave a comment and let me know what you think. Thank you for sitting down and watching this video, and we hope that you check out some of our other ones. If you look right up here, you can see the horror movies that made me the person that I am today. So thank you so much, and y'all have a great day.